Loveless marriage advice. Okay, here goes. Never talked about this with anyone, which I know is not a great thing. I don't see a therapist, which I probably should. Just seems like a lot of expense and time. And at this point, I'm not suffering in a big way, so the motivation to do so is no longer that great. About 3 years ago, after almost 18 years of marriage, my wife seemed to be increasingly distant. We had some bad fights when I got COVID and had a different attitude around it than she did. She was super paranoid about it spreading even after I'd been well for a couple of weeks. It wasn't a huge deal for me. This was back before vaccines were available. We'd always had a bit of a rocky relationship. She is very sensitive and would take every little thing I said as a criticism. Most of the time, we would be able to talk it out, but was such an emotionally volatile person that it was a lot of me trying to avoid situations that would trigger her, but still not being able to do this for very extended periods. Anyway, I went on vacation with my mom and sister. My wife works constantly, and so at least in the last 10 years has been very reluctant to take vacations, at least not ones where she can't spend 3/4 of her time working remotely. I ended up writing her a long email telling her that she seemed distant and that I miss being close to her, etc. She ended up calling me, and we had this long conversation where she said not only was she not in love with me anymore, but she never was, this despite telling me in the past about when she fell in love with me. I asked her what this all meant, and she said she didn't know, and we'd have to play it by ear. Well, nothing really came of it except that we never had sex after that. She said she wasn't interested in that anymore with me, and about 1.5 years ago, she started sleeping in the living room. She will sleep in the same bed when we are visiting relatives or friends, so it seems like it's something she doesn't want to tell others about. At this point, we kind of live our separate lives. She has mostly her work that takes up 98% of her free time. I have my own interests, and I mostly take our dog out on walks and, of course, have a job. We have mostly a civil relationship at this point. I've done a lot of meditation over the last years, and I think that's allowed me to be less reactive towards her, so when she starts getting upset, I don't engage in a way that might cause a fight. But I think she is also less likely to get upset, perhaps because she's not as emotionally committed to the relationship. I don't know what my question really is other than I'm trying to navigate what this means for me personally. We have too much of a shared financial life that would make separating extremely costly, and we seem to mostly be able to live with each other as friends. We're not young, and I'm pretty introverted, so the prospect of meeting someone new and developing a relationship is pretty unlikely. I figure we'll cross that bridge if it ever comes into view, but I'm guessing that if I were to consider anything, whether just a fling or an actual relationship, I would probably need to check with her to ask what her expectations are at this point. It seems clear that she has no wish to be romantically/sexually involved with me. So it would seem odd if she were to decide that, barring a divorce, it was forbidden for me to seek these things elsewhere, if she were unwilling to engage with me in these ways. But mainly, we just don't talk about this stuff. And after 3 years, it's difficult to bring anything like that up, especially when there is nothing on the horizon, and it's not like I'm suddenly going to be going to bars or loading Tinder on my phone. LOL. Mainly, I've accepted the status quo at this point. We are financially stable, and we rarely have any kind of fight that goes beyond a 1 or 2 compared to our 8 or 9s of the past, and they are few and far between. I have my dog for companionship, but unfortunately no friends that I am really close with. But I'm still reasonably content, and I think meditation has been really helpful towards this regard. I'm not suffering in any significant way. So, should I just keep on keeping on, and if anything does happen, figure out how to deal with it when the time comes? I don't feel like I need a plan for 10 hypothetical situations. I don't drink, so I'm not going to suddenly get in a situation because my judgment has been impaired. And as I said, I'm a pretty introverted guy, so it would take a very drunk woman who had serious beer goggles on to even try to suggest anything to me. Oh, at this point in my life, while sure, it would be nice to have a romantic partner that I was very close with, I don't feel like that is in the cards, nor do I think it's so high priority that I would give up significant financial security to pursue something that I think would be pretty unlikely regardless.